Good afternoon. My name is Jim Moriarty, and I'm a proud graduate of Lowell High School from the class of 1973. I am also the chairperson of the Lowell High School Distinguished Alumni Board of Directors. It is my pleasure to welcome you here this afternoon for our 18th annual ceremony of Distinguished Alumni of Lowell High School. Today's event is to recognize 5 individuals who graduated from Lowell High School and who went on to do some extraordinary things. Over the years, we've recognized alumni who excelled in a variety of fields, ranging from medicine to business. We've recognized alumni who have reached the pinnacle of law, government, education, and humanities. This year's class of Lowell High School Distinguished Alumni is no different. We have leaders in education, life sciences, medicine, arts, and construction. Each individual has excelled in his or her field through their professional past. Though their professional past may be different, what they all have in common is all their journeys started here in the halls of Lowell High School. Part of the foundation that led to their success was built from what they learned here, from their relationships they developed with their teachers, their coaches, and their fellow students here at Lowell High. We hope you find their stories inspirational and meaningful as you continue your own journey here at Lowell High. Now it is my honor to introduce this year's honorees. From the class of 1905, Mr. Gerard N, represented by Dr. Joel Boyd. Zaroulis, represented by his daughter, attorney Christina Zaroulis Milner. From the class of 1957, Mr. John Ryan. Class of 1960, Mr. Nick Sarris. And from the class of 1998, Ms. Siddhi Chhoeng. Everybody to please rise for the posting of the colors by our Air Force Junior ROTC cadets and remain standing for the singing of our national anthem by the Lowell High School School Choir. A special thanks to the ROTC, the choir, the band, the Colleen Cregan Media Center, and the student speakers. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the head of the school, Mike Fiato.
Thank you. You all may be seated. Appreciate everyone being here today to celebrate the best of LHS. We're all here to support the inductees to the distinguished Lowell High School alumni. What an amazing opportunity for our students to recognize, support, and to honor the legacy that our alumni are leaving behind and have left behind. I had the opportunity to go to the alumni dinner last night and listen to some of the stories and the conversations from our alumni, and I was truly humbled to be a part of this program. The message that I want to give to our students, and I want to thank our choir, our band, National Honor Society, and our ROTC programs and all the staff that got them here today, because I appreciate you being here, and I want you to listen to the stories and pay good attention to the stories behind each of our alumni. They walk the halls of LHS just like you do. The times may have been different, but they're still part of Lowell High School's fabric, history, and help shape who we are today. So our past and our future will come together today to celebrate and recognize our alumni and the families that they represent. Without further ado, I'll bring it back to Mr. Moriarty so that we can begin the ceremony. I did see School Committee Del Rossi here, so I want to give Ms. Del Rossi an applause, please, and recognize her for being here today. Thank you for taking time out of your day.
On December 26, 1831, Lowell High School opened its doors to Lowell's first students. 191 years later, Lowell High School continues on as the first coeducational and racially integrated high school in the United States. Today, Lowell High School is proud to recognize 5 more of its most distinguished alumni. From the class of 1905, Gerard N. From the class of 1955, Charles Zaroulis. From the class of 1957, John Ryan. From the class of 1960, Nicholas Sarris. From the class of 1998, Siddhi Shah Chhoeng. Each has traveled a very different road in life, and each has a distinctive definition of success. However, there is a common thread in the success of these outstanding people. Each attended and graduated from Lowell High School. Lowell High School moved to its present location in 1840 and consisted of just 10 rooms and a large assembly hall. Soon after, Carolyn von Bonker became the first African American to graduate from a public high school in the United States. In 1859, James Carney of the Lowell Institution for Savings established the Carney Medal Awards. This honor recognized the top 3 male and top 3 female graduates for excellence in character, scholarship, and attendance. These awards are still presented annually to Lowell High's most deserving students. Lowell High remains as the bedrock for a long list of distinguished scholars, artists, public servants, and athletes. This 2022 class of distinguished alumni carries on the tradition of excellence achieved by the previous 17 classes of inductees. Today, Lowell High School preserves the tradition of excellence begun in 1831 by recruiting the finest teachers while integrating cutting-edge technology into the lives of today's learners. For all our students, much like tonight's honorees, the journey towards distinction and success begins here at Lowell High School.
At this time, I'll be calling up our student presenters who will be introducing the honorees and or their representative. First is Alexander Wapo, who will be bringing up the speaker for Gerard N, class of 1905. Alexander is a senior class president, National Honor Society member, captain of the undefeated cross-country team and boys track teams. Alexander Wapo, please come to the stage.
It is a great honor. I would like to call upon Superintendent Dr. Joe Boyd to speak on behalf of Gerard N, class of 1905.
So it was rather fitting what head of school Fiato said earlier in learning from and learning about our traditions and our history here at Lowell High School. So obviously, I would think we could all do the math and know that if Mr. Liu was graduating in the class of 1905, he's likely unable to be here with us. And as superintendent, I often get the honor of being able to represent our dignitaries, our recipients, posthumously as we recognize them after their passing. And it was a true honor to be able to learn about and understand the life of Mr. Liu. And just a few things about Gerard Liu. Gerard Liu graduated in the class of 1905. He was born in 1888 in Pawtucketville. He was a sports legend at Lowell High School, captain of the track team, varsity baseball and football. He was also an avid musician. He was an accomplished violinist. He went on to serve our great country in World War I as director for the Army Corps. But those weren't the distinctions that Mr. Liu would be raving about, and we are honoring him for here today. Gerard Liu was a civil rights activist and an advocate for his community. As an African American, he was the first president of the oldest museum dedicated to the study of Black history, culture, and art. And students, as I think about Gerard Liu, and we remember that this country and our city was in a very, very different place in terms of civil rights during his lifetime and certainly during his time as a student here. So I'm asked, in terms of speaking on his behalf, to think about what Mr. Liu might be thinking here today if he was here before us looking out on this audience of students. And I think from my research, first, he would be, as a very humble man, he would have been really humbled by the honor here. So thank you for the selection of Mr. Liu. Thank you for recognizing him. For everyone who put in a vote, a recognition to bring our distinguished guests here today, I think Mr. Liu would want to thank all of you. I also think Mr. Liu would be honored to stand here and to be represented amongst the dignitaries and the distinguished honorees here this evening that are able to be here and able to share some remarks with you. I think he'd be incredibly honored to be considered amongst all of you. I also think Mr. Liu would be looking out at this audience and be quite proud. Proud of his high school, his alma mater. Proud of the extraordinary diversity within our current class, but most proud of your extraordinary gift and power to elevate your voices on behalf of others. I think it was really fitting for Alex Wapo to introduce me on behalf of Mr. Liu. I've had the opportunity to know Alex and his family, and Alex and his brother, extraordinary leaders, student leaders within the community, elevating their voices as teens within the city of Lowell on behalf of others. And all of you do so much work to elevate one another. I think Mr. Liu would be speaking in thanks to all of you for continuing to lift up your voices as activists for social justice, as activists for equity, as activists for inclusion. So within my research, I came upon a quote from Mr. Liu, and I'll conclude here because I think it gives you a little bit of insight into who Mr. Liu was, and I want you to remember that he was a graduate in the class of 1905. Mr. Liu passed away in 1965. So students, I want you to think about the era in which he is conveying these words. This was early in his adult life as he became an activist within the civil rights movement of the time. He was asked to speak and to reflect on his current perspective. And he said this, he said, "It was my good fortune to hear Booker T. Washington speak to a mixed audience, and the substance of his address might be summed up in a few words. Get something, stand for something, help someone, and the other things will care for themselves. And I firmly believe this to be true, regardless of race, color, or creed." So on behalf of Mr. Liu, thank you for his recognition. And to Mr. Liu, thank you for your commitment to our community. I'm sure he's looking down on all of us, and we would like to say congratulations, Mr. Liu. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Boyd, for those wonderful words. Next, I will be introducing Nicholas Porter. Nicholas will come up and introduce Charles G. Zaroulis, class of 1955. Did you know that Nicholas is in the National Honor Society? He is a senior class senator, captain of the boys varsity soccer and track teams. Nicholas, would you please come up so that you can make your next introduction?
It is my honor to welcome Christina Zaroulis Milnor, daughter of Charles G. Zaroulis, class of 1955, to accept this award on his behalf.
Hi, everybody. Yes, I'm Christina Milner, accepting this for my dad and honoree today, Charles Zaroulis. I have to say it may be better that I'm accepting this award for him in any case, because he was a crier. He would definitely be excessively bawling if he had to come up here today. He was a crier. He cried when happy, when sad, always loudly and a lot. It was really his signature, and something about him that I remember fondly. With just a little bit of time to talk today, I'm not going to go over his accomplishments, which were many and are noted in here. I will talk a little bit about his character. At this high school, he was known as Sonny, or Charlie, and then he always went by Dr. Z. And he was a guy who followed his emotions and mapping out his life. His childhood was hard. By the time he was 10, his own dad had passed away from leukemia, and back then in the 1940s, there was little treatment for such a cancer. He reacted to his personal trauma by using the scholarships he earned from the University of Virginia and its medical school to eventually focus not only on caring for patients who, like his dad, were unlucky enough to get a serious blood disorder, but on conducting research to improve technology and treatment available to hematology and oncology patients. When I was very little, my dad was already very established as a clinical and research physician. He took an unusually undetached approach to clinical medicine. Just as an example, I can remember vividly a Christmas Eve when he was leaving the house and his 4 young kids to drive off to a hospital 20 miles away from home to care for a patient who was too sick to receive the potentially life-saving bone marrow transplant that he hoped he'd be able to perform. He cried a lot over his patients. I never really expected that, to be so emotional and affected from a doctor regularly treating the most seriously ill patients. But my dad's tear ducts were really always his motivation. He kept working for better results for patients. So I want to thank my dad for leading an awesome life and congratulate him on receiving this award that is much deserved. I'd guess if he were here, he would advise you, a young generation, that it's really okay to cry and to see where your emotions might lead you in life. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina, for those wonderful words about your father. We appreciate that. Next up to speak will be Eddie Jachta. Eddie will be introducing John F. Ryan, class of 1957. Eddie is a senior, a National Honor Society member, member of the Student Council, captain of the boys varsity volleyball team, and most recently, an Abigail Adams Scholarship winner for his outstanding performance at MCAS. Eddie Jachta.
It is my honor to introduce John Ryan, class of 1957.
Well, it certainly is exciting to be back here in the Sarris W. Irish Auditorium. I walked in here today and I said it was 65 years ago at graduation. I stood here and received the award for being a baseball player. And that award was $100. And that was enough to pay for the first 2 years of my college tuition. Not today. Let me tell you how I got started here. I have a little story to tell. And I think it's important because many of the people that are sitting here, many of the young men and women sitting here today, may attach to something I'm about to say. And if you do, I'm going to walk out of here very, very happy. I grew up in the Highlands section of Lowell, went to St. Margaret's Grammar School. I came to Lowell High School like many of you. I took a bus. I took a bus from Stevens Street to McCord's Drugstore in Merrimack Street, crossed Merrimack Street, went down Lucy Larkin Parkway, went into the first set of doors, went to my locker, hung up my coat, grabbed a couple of books, went up to the third floor, 301B in Coburn Hall. That was my routine. Every day, loved it. But when I came to Lowell High School, I was not a student. I was going to be a baseball player. And you know what? I was a damn good baseball player, too. My goal when I came to Lowell High School was to make the Lowell High School baseball team as a freshman, to let up for 4 years, and to feel very good about myself. I did exactly that. Until one day it all changed. One day, walking down the corridor of the new, what I call the new building that ran along Kirk Street, a gentleman stopped me that I had never met before and said to me, "John, my name is Edward Sullivan. I'm chairman of the business department." And we started a conversation. And he said to me, "It's great that you made the baseball team. You had a good first year. You must be looking forward to the next 3. I said, "Yes, I am." So we had some more small talk, and we finally got around to the big question. He said to me, "What are you going to do after you leave Lowell High School?" I said, "You know, I'm going to play baseball." He said, "No, you're not." Well, I can't tell you how I felt at that. He said, "You know, you might be pretty good, but you know, you don't have a future in baseball." He said, "Do you know of anybody from Lowell High School or surrounding towns that's playing in the major leagues?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "You know what, you're not going to be there either." But he said, "Let me propose something to you." And this is where life changed. This is where we came to the crossroads. Unbeknown to me, the next conversation was about to change my life forever. He said, "I'd like to propose a 3-track for you, if you would, if you're interested. I'd like to set you off on a college degree program. I'd like to see if you have any skills inside you that we can develop while you're here at Lowell High School. And if you do, we can put them in motion for you so when you leave here, you'll have some place to go. You'll be on your way. And I want you to continue to play baseball." Then he took me down and he introduced me to somebody that some people in this hall will remember, Helen Mulcahy. She was dean of girls at the time, and he said, "Helen, could you see if you could get John into a college program? Take a look at what he's taking right now." She did. She threw out half of it. She gave me a couple more courses, got me into a college track, what I refer to as a meat on the bones. Now, you have to understand, at 15 years old, I had a chill in my back. I was very concerned about what was happening here. She gave me that program. She said, "I want you to go home. I want you to talk to your mother, father, brothers, sisters, anybody you want to talk to, and come back and see us in 5 days and tell us what your decision is." All right. Again, a critical moment. You students will have that critical moment where it's decision time. I made it. I said I was going to accept the plan. From the moment I accepted that plan, everything changed and things moved very, very fast for me. I finished up Lowell High School. I played my 4 years. I led for 4 years. I did what I came down to do. Was I going to the major leagues? No. They were right. But I was also on a college track, so I went to Salem State College. While at Salem, a lot of things happened. I decided I would be a leader rather than a follower. And this is what Edward Sullivan was saying to me, that he saw something in me that I didn't see. I may have been a leader on the baseball field, but I was certainly not a leader in the classroom. But he saw something there. But when I went to Salem, I said, you know what? I'm going to lead. So I ran for junior class president. Someday you students will be involved in junior class president. You know what that is? That's the big one. That's the one that decides all the social activities, where the prom is going to be. That's the one you want to look out for. But then when I left that, I said, you know what? I'm going to run for student body president. That's when you get your own office, your own staff, you meet with faculty, you're sitting in on boards, and things are really changing. I said, this is great. Got elected to that. Graduated from Salem, and I started a 38-year career in the town of Tewksbury in the educational program. I was appointed an assistant superintendent for business. I wasn't there to pay the bills. I wasn't there to balance the books. They brought me in to see if I could create some ways that we could find money, because money was tough, and we wanted to support programs from the special needs program to the talented and gifted program and everything in between. And that's what I did. I spent my time developing cooperatives, getting involved in collaboratives, working with area legislators to change laws that allowed school districts to come over lines and be able to work cooperatively. And we raised a lot of money and we supported a lot of programs. Now, when all this was going on, I did something else. I ran for elective office in the city of Lowell, got elected. I got appointed to several other boards. I served on the MIA Board of Control. You know what that does, folks? That organizes, regulates all interscholastic sports in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Very powerful board to be on. I also served as chairman of the State Hospital Board, appointed by a couple of governors. You read that in the resume. If you didn't, I'm telling you now so you can enjoy it. But let me tell you, all of this was not done without a couple of things. Hard work, long hours, a set of achievable goals, and sacrifice. And you know what that sacrifice is? That's the killer. That means that you give up your Saturdays, your Sundays, nights, parties to be prepared for the next meeting, to go to the next meeting. Because when you go to that meetings, you have to constructively be willing to offer something. If you want to be part of the big picture, you've got to be willing to objectively look at something and be part of something. Now, all of you can do that. All of you students can do that if you're willing to sacrifice, if you're willing to work hard, if you're willing to keep positive and keep a positive spirit. All right, let me get down to where we are right at the moment. In a very, very few short months, many of you will be leaving Lowell High School forever. And I can tell all of you right now, what you are involved in here at Lowell High School is not a dress rehearsal. It's the real thing. It's the real thing. All of you are unique. All of you have something to bring to the table. But you will not get a free lunch, and you will have to earn it. And you know how you're going to get to that point? You're going to get to that point by working with your faculty here at Lowell High School, your administrators here at Lowell High School. They are the best in the business. They're the best that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts can offer. Your counselors, they will advise you, they will help you, they'll get you to where you want to go. They will understand your passion. You tell them what you want, you tell them what you're interested in, and they will advise you. You know, I guess in closing, I can say this to you. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. You're listening to someone who 65 years ago graduated from this school. Not a student when I started. Not a student when I started. Finished strong. Had a real passion about baseball. But here I am standing today in the Sarris W. Irish Auditorium accepting the most prestigious award the Alumni Association gives. What an honor. But it was all done with hard work, dedication, long hours, sacrifice. If you do that, you will get there. And you know something? When I graduated from Lowell High School in 1957, I never played baseball again. Never played it again. And to any of you that are sitting out in this audience today, think that when you graduate from this school, that you may have a future in professional sports, say. I'm going to go back to what Edward Sullivan said to me 68 years ago in the second floor up here. It's probably not going to happen. So therefore, it's important if it's probably not going to happen. And by the way, I hope that it does happen. I'm not being negative. If you make the Boston Red Sox, please remember me with the tickets and everything. I'm available to go down. But listen, it's probably not going to happen. So that's the reason I'm saying to you, you have to be prepared. You have to reach for the prize. You have to be the very best you can. And start with your faculty and administrators of this building. They're here to help. They will go the mile with you. They'll tell you if you're on the right track, and they'll support you every bit of the way. Thank you.
Mr. Ryan, thank you so much for that incredible speech about your life path. We really appreciate it, and I appreciate you directly speaking to our students. Next up, we will be introducing Nicholas Sarris, class of 1960. To do that, we have Aiden Laveau, senior, captain of the boys crew and hockey team and pep club. Aiden, come on up.
It is my honor to introduce to the podium Nicholas C. Sarris, class of 1960.
Thank you, everyone. I first want to congratulate all of the other honorees. It is a privilege to be part of such a successful group of Lowell High graduates. I want to thank the Distinguished Alumni Committee for selecting me. When I was a student sitting in this auditorium over 60 years ago, I would never have imagined I would be standing here accepting such a prestigious award. I'm truly honored. As a young boy, I grew up in Pawtuckaville with Mr. Lou. Not really. From Pawtuckaville. One of 7 children and part of a large Greek and French family. My grandparents on my father's side had immigrated from the Peloponnese region of Greece. Our family was very proud of our Greek heritage. As I look out in the audience, our family is very similar to the Lowell students and families of today. This is what makes Lowell High the special place that it is today. When I graduated from high school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do for a career. I enlisted in the U.S. Air Force and began training in electrical power generation. As a young boy, I had always enjoyed working with wood and was good with my hands. Little did I know carpentry would become my passion. My time in the Air Force was an important time in my life, just as the Lowell High School Air Force Junior ROTC program provides great opportunity for students today. The Air Force instilled in me the value of citizenship, service to the community, and a sense of accomplishment. So I would like to give a shout out to our Lowell High School cadets. Once I returned home from the Air Force, excuse me, my job prospects were minimal. My uncle needed work done at his home on Fletcher Street, so my father suggested I talk to my uncle and hopefully he would hire me to do some work. This was the beginning of what came to be my career pathway. I borrowed tools, renovated my first kitchen, and earned $3 an hour. My uncle's neighbor needed his porch stairs repaired, and before I knew it, I had business cards with small jobs leading to larger projects. As I opened the cabinet shop and began renovating larger commercial buildings in downtown Lowell, my interests and passions for historic preservation was nurtured from building to building. I saw firsthand how these revitalized historic structures brought great pride to the community and its citizens. Lowell became a destination city because of the National Park, and thousands of visitors were excited to see the revitalized buildings as part of the history of Lowell. I had the opportunity to purchase and work on the Beaumarsh Building, the Senior Center on Broadway, the courthouse on Gorham Street, and over 1 million square feet of restoration. My favorite project, however, was the preservation of my family church, the Hellenic Orthodox Church of the Holy Trinity, which, by the way, is right here in Lowell. My grandfather was part of the original church board over 90 years prior to the renovation, and it was both an honor and privilege to bring our family's church back to life. In closing, I want to thank my wife, Betty Lou, my 2 sons, my 2 daughters, for all their support. I also want to thank the late Senator Paul Tsongas, as well as my business partner and friend, George Barakis, for supporting my work to bring back life, energy, and human activity to so many beautiful Lowell buildings. If I could leave our students with a simple message, it would be this: take pride in what you do, always keep a good name, it'll open a lot of doors, and never leave a job unless you and a customer are still in love. Thank you.
Mr. Sarris, thank you for your service and thank you for your contributions to the city of Lowell. Next, we have Tabitha Balamutenda, who will be introducing Siddhi, Shah, Chhoeng, class of 1998. Tabitha is a senior class vice president, National Honor Society member, student council vice president, pep club, and all around someone who gets involved in everything and takes on a lot of the leadership at Lowell High School. Tabitha, would you please come up?
It is my greatest honor to welcome Siddhi Shah Chow to accept this award. Hi, everyone. To the distinguished Alumni Committee, Lowell Public School administrators, and community leaders, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I am grateful, honored, and truly humbled to be placed amongst the ranks of the distinguished alumni here today and those recognized in years past. When the committee requested that each honoree give a short presentation, I have to admit, I was a little stuck. I honestly did not know how to tell my story. How could I possibly do justice to the emotions that I felt before standing up here and the ones that I feel right now? So, like any good strategist, I developed a framework that would help me tell my story in a way that would feel authentic to me, but also resonate with you. And that framework is power. Now, before you jump to conclusions, I'm not talking about the type of power that we learn in Mrs. Davis's AP history classes. That's the power over something. And that's the type of power that causes strife and war. What I want to talk to you about today is the power of, specifically the power of influence, including some of the people who have deeply influenced my life. Let me start at the beginning. I was born in a small town called Nadyad in the state of Gujarat in northwestern India. There, I lived in what you would describe a humble home at best, with my grandmother, my parents, and my older sister, Shruti. My many aunts, uncles, and cousins all lived close by. My father was an engineer, and my mother was a housewife. It was unspoken but a known fact that both Shruti and I would also one day be housewives. Let me be clear, there's nothing wrong with being a housewife. But there is something wrong when that decision is made for you and you have no say. My father wanted more for his girls. He wanted to give them the opportunity to make their own choices and to no longer be confined by societal rules. My father was the first person who had a powerful influence on me. Believing in the American dream, my father relocated to the US with the plan that once he secured a job, my mother, Shruti, and I would join him. Unfortunately, Shruti never made it to the US. On Diwali 1983, she died due to a tragic medical error. Her blood type was mismatched during a blood transfusion. I now know that a simple diagnostic test would have saved her life. She was only 5 years old, and she was the second person to influence my life. By March 1984, my mother and I joined my father in the US. We arrived in Lowell. I didn't speak any English at that time, but I learned by watching loads of Sesame Street. And soon thereafter, I was enrolled in Lowell Public Schools. I was a good student, studious, hardworking, a bit nerdy, and I had a bold imagination. This culminated in 10th grade when Dr. Woodward assigned her students to participate in the science fair, and I set out to clone dinosaurs. The movie Jurassic Park had just been released, and I wanted to know if the science behind Michael Crichton's book, yes, it was a book before it got turned into a movie, was real. Fortunately, the Science Club's collaboration with BU City Lab, my science fair partner and I were able to prove that the science in Jurassic Park was actually in fact real. You could fill in missing genes from one organism with genes from another, at least at a bacterial level. My wild idea helped us win first place at Lowell High School Science Fair and gave us a coveted spot to compete at the annual Massachusetts State Science Fair, which just happened to be held on MIT's campus. We didn't place at States, but during the awards ceremony, the president of MIT mentioned how he loved being approached by MIT students who had also once been in the very same seats at previous state science fair award ceremonies. That day, I decided that I too would be one of those students. And later, when it came time to declaring my major at MIT, it was a no-brainer. I knew I needed to pursue biology and biomedical engineering. Shruti's memory wasn't lost on me. Whether sparked by a parent's desire for a better future, a heart-wrenching tragedy, an assignment from a beloved chemistry teacher, a fantastical movie, or even a comment at an award ceremony, just like this, the power of influence can run deep. It could positively and unknowingly shape the lives of so many around us. None of the people I spoke about today would be categorized as influencers. They don't have 1 million social media followers. Yet, they've all influenced me and many others profoundly. I too stand here today in front of you, aware of my own power of influence through my actions, but also my inactions. I've embraced that power. After finishing my bachelor's at MIT and master's at UPenn, I realized that my value was not doing research at the bench. The talent I brought was the business of science and influencing corporations on where to strategically focus and develop scientific technology for the betterment of people and the planet. From advocating to research in neglected diseases like ETEC and Shigella, to crafting sustainability strategies around green chemicals, and pushing for patent waivers so everyone around the world could have access to the same COVID-19 vaccine. I was leading into my power of influence. I also had many mentors who influenced me along the way. They saw in me what I didn't even see in myself. Today, as the head of strategy development for a multi-billion-dollar business at Millipore Sigma, I also lead, mentor, and influence a global high-performing team. For many, I am not only their first female leader, but I am also their first leader of color. I'm on a mission to make sure that I'm not their last. That power of influence is what propelled me to support causes like Lowell's Project Learn, an educational nonprofit leveling the playing field for the next generation of youth in this community. That power of is what inspired me to write my best-selling book, The Career Lab Formula, as a way of influencing the STEM graduates as they enter the workforce. It is also why, in 2022, my family started the Siddhi and Shah Memorial Scholarship Fund to help you as you build your own spheres of influence. And this is just the beginning. We should all be aware of the power and influence we put out into the world. We must ask ourselves, are we using this power of influence for good? I would like to close with a quote from Marianne Williamson that I hold dear to my heart. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Thank you for listening, and congrats to all of the honorees here today.
First, to our honorees, thank you so much. To our students, I hope you enjoyed the stories and you can think about those stories for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week, for the rest of the month. And as you make your journeys forward, remember what you heard here today. It will make a difference. So with that, I'm going to ask the students to go back to their classes, which I apologize, but that's the rule. And the second, I'm going to ask the honorees to stay here for the pictures for the Lowell Sun, and our guests to stay and welcome. We're going to have some refreshments. So once again, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it.